let's try to do this again. Much calm. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For anyone who's new here, hi, my name is Nikki. Today's video is prompted by several conversations I had over the previous week with people who have watched my videos, but with no disrespect, don't know what they're doing, or haven't done any research before they try to start a candle business. And this is just for the people who really didn't know what they were doing. So let's jump into the video. I'm going to address a few things that I didn't think anyone needed to tell anyone, but I guess there's a small group of or percentage of people who still don't know certain things when it comes to candle business. Just like any other small business or any business that you're gonna plan to open, you have to do some research. You have to know what you're doing. Even if you don't know exactly and you're teaching yourself to make candles, you have to know the basics before you start. So the first most important thing, wax. There are different categories of wax. You have soy, you have paraffin, you have parasoy, you have coconut, you have beeswax, apricot wax. So many different waxes out there. The four most popular one will be soy, paraffin, parasoy, and beeswax. Under each categories, there are waxes for containers, and there are waxes for tarts and pillars and melts. They cannot be interchanged. You cannot use a container wax for a pillar, or let's say a bubble candle, for instance. You can't use bubble candle wax for a container candle. It doesn't work that way. So there are different waxes under categories. So for instance, like I said, soy wax, paraffin wax, they all have under each, they have container version of that wax, and they also have pillar, tart, or wax melt version of that wax. The next thing is temperatures. For every supplier or manufacturer, they will suggest temperatures to melt the wax, add the fragrance oil to the wax, and also to pour it into your mold or your container. The temperatures that you use depend on the wax that you have. You can't just grab someone's temperature from a video and apply it to your candle making techniques, especially if that wax is different. So I had someone who used my temperature and her candles came out disastrous. Few factors to say for that. She doesn't know what wax she has. She bought the wax but doesn't know if it was a pillar wax or it was a container wax. She doesn't know if it was a soy wax or a paraffin or a parasoy wax. She has no idea about the wax. She just bought the wax offline blindly and decided to watch my videos about making bubble candles and use the temperature that I used. The temperature that I used came off the wax that I used. Those were recommended by the manufacturer. But because I mix two different waxes from two different manufacturers, two different type of waxes, I do in between. So say for the parasoy, they say poured at 170. And for the soy, they say pour it at 175. I will pour between all two. So I'll pour at 170, 71, 72, and whichever one gave me the best results, that's what I'll go with. That is what testing is for. You have to remember, even if you're using 100%, let's go with my C3 wax. So you're using 100% C3 wax, and I use 90%, but I also add parasoy to that 90% to give me 100% of a wax buildup. You cannot use the same temperatures that I use. You cannot use the wick that I use because your wax component is 100% soy, which means you will need a wick to work with 100% soy C3 wax. Mine has a bit of paraffin in it, so the buildup will change, which means that the wick will be different from yours. The outcome will be different from yours. We might both get smooth candles. We might both get cracking candles or candles with wet spots or frosting. But the makeup, the components, the particles, the molecules in both our candles are completely different, which means our burn will be different, the hot throw will be different. Everything you look for in a candle will be different just from that minute difference in our candles. The same way in if you're using, again, C3 wax, but you add UV inhibitor to your wax, or you add dyes to your wax, or any additives you add to your wax, you cannot use the same wick that I use because you add different additives to your wax. My wax is just 90% soy, 10% parasoy, fragrance oil, and wick. I don't have any other additives in my wax, and I don't use dyes in my container candles. So what I'm trying to say is, guys, don't just mirror someone's candle making procedure or techniques and think that you should get the same result. And if you don't, then it's the person's fault. There is testing in everything. You can use someone's video or someone's candle making techniques as a baseline for yourself, but it shouldn't be your own technique because everyone has to tweak something. Like, for instance, I had to tweak the temperature in this room I'm making candles. I live in New Jersey. Up to a month ago, it was quite cold here, which means I had to pour my waxes at least 5 degrees higher than normal, just so that my candles wouldn't get too solidified way too quickly. Because if it did, then I probably wouldn't get a good hot throw, and I would have wax pulling away from the jar. If you're living in a much hotter temperature, climate, state, or country, let's say the Caribbean, or you live in Texas or Florida, where it's humid and hot all the time, you might have to pour your waxes. Could be the exact same wax that I'm using, an exact fragrance oil in the exact jar. You might have to pour your wax a little bit cooler because you do not want hot wax to be sitting in a container with a very humid environment. It will keep the wax liquid a little bit longer than it should, which will end up affecting the outcome of your candle. So we might be using the exact same wax, the exact same wick, the exact same jar, but live in 2 different climate type or temperature type areas, we will get 2 different outcomes. So those are factors we have to think about or incorporate when we're making our candles or opening a candle business. Guys, like I said before, like any other business, candle business does require research. It requires research, it requires research, it requires research. The last thing I want to mention about following someone's video, wicks. Wicks, for me, I think personally, are the trickiest part in making a candle. And the reason I say that is because the wicks that were recommended from my suppliers didn't really work in my candles. I've seen several people keep asking what wick I use from my bubble candle, and I gave the answer straight up because I don't want people to think I'm being stingy on the answers. But I guarantee it won't work for you if you're not using the wax. Again, if you're not using the wax that I'm using, probably won't work for you. That's one. There's some of you who are using just plain soy. Some of you are using just plain paraffin. Some of you are using just plain parasoy. If we're not using the exact same wax, if the diameter of your mold or your container is an exact same size, it will not work the exact same way it worked for me, for you. Again, guys, please know what you're doing. It is not just as simple as melting wax, adding a wick, pour melted wax, let it solidify, and boom, you have a candle. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So please do your research. Please watch several videos. Please watch the basics of making a candle, which I think I'm going to have to make a basics candle making video after this one for people who are just starting out and who don't know what they're doing. That is why after my initial frustration, I was talking to my mom and she was saying they probably don't know what they're doing and they figure that this is what they should have done. So I'm gonna make a video about candle basics, so hopefully for anyone in the future who wants to make candles or start a candle business can start off with a video like that to give you the ground basics of candle making. That is it for this video, guys. It was basically just a a rant session. It was basically for anyone who's watching the video to know that don't copy someone else and expect the same results. Do your research, do your testing, know what wax you are buying. Do not waste your money and buy a random wax off the internet, especially in large quantities, and then don't know what wax it is or what is meant to do or what it's meant for. That is it for this video, guys. Like always, thank you guys so much for watching. I wish I didn't have to make this video, but it was needed. Please stay safe, guys. Please enjoy your summer. It's getting nice out. Please have fun. Please enjoy life. Please don't take life way too seriously like I do. Live daily, live like it's your last. It's very cliche, but it's very true. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and bye, guys. See you in my next video.